Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. Our topic for today is social entrepreneurship, the art of solving real problems, hosted by Takween Accelerator and presented by me, Shahrazad. I am an accelerator trainer at Takween, an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, and a startup mentor, and a proud Tech Woman Fellow, an initiative by the US Department of State. Now, this webinar is designed for anyone approaching social entrepreneurship for the first time. This learning experience will give you an overview of the sector. You will learn how to identify and develop an idea you care about that solves a problem and create a sustainable impact. You will also learn how to use market research to understand your customers and how to design and test your solution. The webinar is going to be live streamed on our Facebook page as well. And there will be a live interpretation in both Arabic and Kurdish. You can see the interpretations button at the right bottom corner of your screens. And if it's not showing, you can just click on the more button and you will find it there. Please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box, and I will be more than happy to answer them by the end of our session. I would like to briefly introduce Takween Accelerator. Takween is a project of Yanhad, an initiative to promote civic engagement and entrepreneurship for youth in Iraq, financed by the European Union and the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and implemented by Expertise France and hosted at the American University of Iraq, Soleimani. Before we dive in our topic, I would like to start with some questions and I would love to hear your responses in the chat box. Do you want to change people's lives? Do you want to create a positive impact in your society? Okay, we have Zahra saying yes. I would love to hear from more of you. Do you want to change people's lives? Do you want to create a positive impact in your society? Do you want to make your city or country or the world a better place? Great, we have more yes, Miran and Yusuf. Amazing. One more question to go. Are you ready to change how you currently think what success is and create a new definition for it? Now, as you all know, many of us define success as power, money, and fame. But what if instead of asking whether we are more beautiful, more rich, or famous, or powerful, we ask ourselves how many people we have helped so far? What we do to enable others to improve their well-being and make them find a purpose in their lives. Now, the most effective leaders in the world chose to redefine success and put people and the earth at the center. These leaders live and act boldly by these new definitions, contributing to a growing and collective effort to build a better world, a world that we all wish to see and we all wish to live in. If you ever dream of changing the world or making a difference, if you want to discover your passions and the path to change the world, then you are in the right place at the right moment. You are invited to roll up your sleeves and join us on a journey to change lives by changing mindsets. What is social entrepreneurship. Now, I will not give a definition for what social entrepreneurship is because there are a lot of definitions. But I would like to give you some keywords that I personally find important for understanding it. First, social entrepreneurship is oriented towards having a social impact compared to making profits. That is, in social entrepreneurship, the contribution to social well being is primary and profit is secondary. Now, I'm not telling you that you're not going to make profit or profit is not important. No, you will be generating profit if you start your social enterprises. You will be making money because it is essential for your enterprise to survive. That is to grow, sustain, and keep your startup running. Second, social enterprises address social and environmental issues like unemployment, gender equality, climate change, and so on. Finally, social enterprises are local community based. That is, the social challenge addressed is in the local community. Who is a social entrepreneur? A social entrepreneur is somebody who takes up a social problem and meets it with an innovative solution. Social entrepreneurs are people who are passionate, determined, and motivated to make a difference and bring change to their societies. They operate with an aim of changing the face of society, be it health, sanitation, education, justice, peace, and much more. Why do we need social entrepreneurship? Now, this is very important. We need social entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurs to first make the world a better place. This is very simple and to the point. Now we are going through complicated times, and now it is the right time for us to be creative, innovative, responsible, and willing to help. We will only get through it if we act together. With social entrepreneurship, we can put an end to issues like climate change, racism, inequality, and many more to make the world a better place. Second, it connects you to a life purpose and keeps you motivated. At the end of the day, it comes down to creating something you are passionate about, and not only that, but as well going the extra mile to not only help a group of people, but create a real and lasting impact on their lives. As a social entrepreneur myself, and this is from my experience, trust me, the best feeling that you can get, the best feeling that someone can get, is when you see how you positively impacted people's lives, how you changed their lives to the better, how you made them feel. You made them feel happy and have a big smile on their faces. Number three, grab the attention of investors. This is a very important point as well, as investors are starting to give more importance to funding sustainable projects like environmental, social, etc., that create a positive and lasting impact on the world. It is, in other words, they are putting money into projects and ideas that do good and help make the world a better place. This takes us to the biggest question: how do I start? Before we dive in how to start your social enterprise, I would like to address some concerns of launching a startup. You don't need to have all the answers before you start. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have a lot of experience. You don't need to find the perfect idea. You need to find a great idea that solves problems people are facing. You as well do not need to go all in. You do not need to quit your university or job. The most successful entrepreneurs actually continue with these commitments until they reduce the risk of their startup. Finally, you don't need a lot of money to start, as the majority of people think. It actually takes a lot less than you think. Most startups, they start by funding, by self-funding, or by funding from friends and family members at first. And in entrepreneurship, we call this bootstrapping or self-funding. So, do you still want to start? Of course, yes. Your first step to starting a social enterprise is to find and understand a problem. You need to come up with an idea, and your idea should be a problem that needs to be solved. Now, how can you come up and generate ideas or find opportunities? It is very simple. Brainstorming. Now, if you go search on the internet, you will find a lot of idea generation tools, but brainstorming is the simplest and most effective of all. So get a pen and a paper and spend as much time as you want and note down as many ideas as you can. Now, at this stage, do not evaluate your ideas, just write them down. Write all the problems that come up, no matter how unimportant you might feel the problem is, because you won't know what can build to something great. Now, during the brainstorming process, you can ask yourself, what makes you frustrated? This is any way you are trying to come up with problems that you are personally facing. You can as well check other people's frustrations. Have you ever heard from your family members, friends, neighbors, or people in your community about problems they are facing, or about what is making them frustrated, what is causing them to be in pain? If you want to go on a bigger scale, then ask yourself, what problems or issues is the world facing? And the world is facing a lot of problems and issues. Now, the most successful social entrepreneurs are those who understand the problem they are facing and they are trying to solve from the perspective of their customers. If you want to solve a problem other people are facing, it is very important to put yourself in your customer's shoes and have a deep understanding of the root causes of a social issue and have a strong degree of empathy for those people. Here are some opportunities for social entrepreneurship and innovation. The Sustainable Development Goals or the Global Goals are a collection of 17 goals designed to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all of us. They were set up in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. Now, social entrepreneurs can contribute to the SDGs by pursuing opportunities to solve socio-economical issues and by the development of efficient, affordable, and cost-effective solutions for those problems. If your enterprise has the potential to contribute to attain the SDGs, then your chances are very high to get funding from worldwide agencies and get investment from potential investors as well, as we have mentioned earlier, to apply solutions to these problems and sustain your enterprise. Now it's time to filter what is relevant to you and throw the rest. After you brainstormed your ideas, filter them based on three important things: your passion, your skills, and your customers' pain points. Now, all great achievements start with passion. Passion is what fuels everything. It is what motivates you and what will help you take your first step into the startup world. But passion alone cannot make your startup. Doing something you love, something you are passionate about, injecting it with the skill sets and the competences that you possess, and the dedication to helping people solve their problems and relieve their pains is the ideal situation. Your idea should as well focus on your why. What you are seeing on the screen is called the golden circle, which is a concept developed by Simon Sinek, who says, people do not buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Entrepreneurs, most of the time, and we see that a lot, focus on the what and the how. That is what they do and how they do it. They rarely focus on the why. The whole idea behind this concept is to get you to focus on the why. Why do you do what you do? What is your impact? What values and benefits are you giving to people? When you talk about the why, you are communicating with feelings. And always remember that people will never forget how you made them feel. Okay. Now, let's take a couple of minutes to think about ideas, frustrations, or problems that you would like to solve or you've heard of. And I would like to ask you to mention them in the chat box. Okay, so we're gonna take just a few minutes to hear from you and we will continue. So any ideas coming to your minds? Okay, so we have from Nina, there are no proper public transportation in Suli that are comfortable and reliable. Therefore, many people own their own cars, making the roads very crowded during rush hours and polluting our environment. Amazing, amazing, Nina. Thank you very much. Anyone would like to share your own frustrations, your own problems, people's frustrations, anything you would like to share that you would also like to solve? Okay, we have a question from Nihad, and I'll be answering this question by the end of our session. How to motivate, or this is a problem maybe, how to motivate the young generation to be entrepreneur. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a question, Nihad, or this is a problem. Yusr, children's value and life taken for granted, making them give up education and child abuse. Wow, this is great, Yusr. Thank you for mentioning this. Okay, great. We can move on, and I really hope to see you all converting your great ideas to startups one day and help make the world a better place. We have Lana. Do you think everyone can be an entrepreneur? Do you think everyone should? Okay, Lana, I will answer your question by the end of our session. Okay, great. So let's move on. Okay, our second step is to research your idea. After you have filtered your ideas and came up with the best idea, it is important to test your idea by gathering more information and insights about the needs and preferences of your potential customers. Now, why is this important? Why is gathering more information and insights important? Because by developing a deep understanding of your customers, you can determine how viable and successful your product or service would be. You need to tell people about it and do not be afraid that someone might steal your idea and implement it. Now, the value of sharing your idea far outweighs the risk of someone stealing or copying it. Every time you share your idea, you get the opportunity for feedback to make it better. So, what is market research? Simple. Market research is the process of gathering information about your customers' needs and preferences. Now, there are a lot of ways to get input from customers. How do you conduct a market research? We have different methods, as I have just stated, the interviews, observations, focus groups, and online surveys. Now, interviews are face to face discussions, whether in person or virtual. Observations allow you to sit back and watch your target audience. Focus group, where you get feedback from selected group of people. And online surveys and internet surveys, and these are very trending now because of the pandemic. No matter what type of market research method you go for, it is important at this stage that you ask open-ended questions. And you should also be listening to your customers more than talking to them. After you have done your market research, go through the ideas that you have gathered and analyzed and developed. And from all of what you have got, you can now develop what we call your customer or buyer persona. What is a buyer persona? A buyer persona is a detailed description of someone who represents your target audience. By the way, what you are seeing on the screen is not a real customer. It is instead a fictional person who embodies the characteristics of your best potential customers. In your buyer persona, you can state your potential customers' demographics, that is age, gender, education, location, status, and income. You can as well state their interests, their frustrations, their needs, their goals. State everything you gather about them from your market research. Now, what you see on the screen is one sample of a buyer persona. You can design it the way you like. Okay, step number 3, design your solution. After determining who your customers are, it's now time to design your solution. The solution to the problem that you are trying to solve. And this is where innovation takes place. Your solution could be a product innovation, which is a physical good that once you buy it, you have it. Or it could be a service offering, which is intangible, such as education workshops, software, or a plugin that allows you to access certain information. Now, there is one important thing that I would like to draw your attention to, where many early startups make the mistake of optimizing a solution for the end user. It is very important for entrepreneurs to differentiate between customers and users. Your customers are whoever paying for your solution, though the person who obtains the value from what you develop may be different. Okay, I'll give you an example just to let you comprehend the idea and make it clearer for you. An example like you could be selling educational products. So the school or the parent is the customer. They are the ones paying, while the students are the end users, the ones that are not paying but are obtaining the values from your solution. This is something very important to keep in mind. Okay. Once you have designed your solution, think of value proposition. The challenge of entrepreneurship is not only in coming up with great ideas. Now, the hard part is creating value for your customers. And creating value for your customers should be a consistent process. At this point, you need to develop your competitive differentiation. A value proposition is a statement that answers the why that we have already talked about when we talked about the golden circle. Why someone should buy from you. It should convince a potential customer why your service or product will be of more value to them than your competition. A good value proposition can give you a great advantage over your competitors and is often what your target customers use to evaluate you. Okay, step number 4, test your solution. Before we build anything and waste our time, our money, and our resources, it is very important that you test your solution to make sure there is a market and that you can meet your customers' needs. I would like to mention here that at this stage, you will iterate a lot, okay, and this is very normal. Your solution will need to change as you get feedback from customers. And that's good, by the way. This is a good thing. If you are not changing, you are not learning. As I have mentioned in the slide before, that after designing your solution, you need to test it. Now, how do you test if your solution is viable or not? Simply by building what we call a minimum viable product or an MVP. Now, I want you to think of a minimum viable product as a minimum viable proof for your solution. An MVP is a version of your solution with just the basic features to be used by early customers who can then provide feedback for future development. This is not your full solution at all. Now, the purpose from building an MVP is to gather data and feedback that can be applied to improve future iterations of the solutions. Your MVP can be a drawing of a product. It can as well be a flow chart of the service or a wireframe of the application, a chatbot, a social media channel, a short movie, a workshop, or a webinar, etc. You do not need at this stage to go for a fully functional app or website to be able to test your solution. You want to start with a smaller scale with little or no technology to prove the value of the service first. I will give you an example just to make it clearer. Like for example, if you want to start a grocery delivery service, you don't need to build an app or a website. You can simply go to WhatsApp, go to use WhatsApp or email, for example. People can send you through WhatsApp what their shopping list is. The picture that you see on the screen is a great example of how you build an MVP. Now, your customers should be able to use it to solve their problems, even if it is with basic or minimum features. Okay, next. How to start a startup. So our webinar mainly focuses on how to develop an idea that solves a real problem, how to design and test a solution for that problem. But I would like to go a bit further and briefly on the steps after you build and test your solution and how to start. As I have mentioned, first you come up with your idea, then you research your idea to gather more information and insights about your customers. Step number 3, you build your MVP, then you test your MVP. At this stage, as we have mentioned, you iterate until it makes sense. Step number 6, you find a co-founder, and this is a very important step that I would like to talk a bit more about it. Finding a co-founder or co-founders with skill sets that you need and you don't personally have will help you cover all the areas and make sure you are setting your business up for long-term success. In addition to that, a co-founder will be able to stand in for your absence and can also give you your much needed rest. Moreover, investors tend to support companies which are run by a team than those who run solo. They trust companies with multiple founders and are likely to fund them more easily. Okay, so it's very important to search for a co-founder. Step number 7. After finding the right co-founder, it's time to build your lean canvas model. A lean canvas model is a quick start one-page alternative of a business plan. It is very effective tool for startups at the pre-seed or bootstrapping stage. That is at the early stage of your startup. Businesses before were required to write a business plan, and it used to take a lot of time to do, a lot of text and pages. But the lean canvas model or the business model has replaced the business plan at a certain point of your startup stage because it is agile, fast, and adjustable. Now, after that, you need to register your startup. Then you look for funding. Then you launch your startup and start acquiring customers. After that, you have to sustain your startup by finding more revenue streams, either from equity sharing, funding, partnerships, sales and marketing. And finally, you need to scale, that is, you replicate your startup in other geographical areas. I hope this is clear. Okay. This takes us to a very important slide. And finally, I would like to share with you some advice and success tips. The first step is to believe in yourself. This is actually an advice. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can succeed. You will find ways through different obstacles. Tip number 2, take the risk. We never know the outcome of our efforts until we actually do it. Trying is better than regretting not trying at all. Face your fears. Oh, all entrepreneurs at first when they start, they have fears. And this is what prevents the majority of people from starting. Whether it is fear from failure, fear from not having enough money, and other types of fears. Overcoming fear is not easy, it takes time. But the more you exercise it, the stronger you become. Embrace failure. Ask me about this. Yes, you might fail and you might not, but always consider failure as an opportunity to grow, as a learning experience that you benefit from, that will help you grow later on. So never ever give up. Be a leader. Successful entrepreneurs are focused on developing others around them and are focused on creating a mission worth achieving. They set goals that stretch people's abilities, develop a spirit of teamwork, and build confidence. An entrepreneur should be a leader. Finally, find a mentor. Being successful often means learning from those who have already achieved their goals. Having a mentor is a great idea and an amazing blessing to every entrepreneur. Okay, so before I answer your question, and this is the end of our webinar, I would like to share with you our last poll. So please choose your answers. Okay, just a second. Okay, I think you can now see the poll on the screen. Okay, great. Thank you for filling the poll, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, so our first question from Nihad: how to motivate the young generation to be entrepreneurs? This is very important, Nihad. Well, I think having role models and exposing those young generation to meet and learn from those role models is a great way for me to encourage young generation to become entrepreneurs. Um, Lana, do you think everyone can be an entrepreneur? Do you think everyone should? Um, if you are passionate about solving problems and if you are passionate about entrepreneurship, yes, you should be an entrepreneur. But not all the people mindsets, not all of the people, they have the entrepreneurship mindset. Some people like they prefer to seek jobs, to find jobs they are passionate about. But the job seekers also have a great chance to be entrepreneurs by being entrepreneurs. This is what we call a corporate entrepreneurship. Like those, we can get them to be entrepreneurs and get them to find and solve problems that the company or organizations they are working in are facing. Okay, who should we believe in social media? The answer was answered by Eileen. The question was answered by Eileen. Only believe those who can cite valid sources for their statements. Where should we go next to get support? Okay, now I will mention that in my last slide. We have the station. Now I'll be talking a bit about the station in a few minutes. From Zahra, how can I find a co-founder for my business when I work alone? Okay, Zahra, you can search within your network, and also Takween Accelerator can help you with this as well. So please reach out to Takween Accelerator and we will talk with you in details about this. Okay, that's it. So no more questions. Okay, great. But two last things I would like to mention before we end our webinar. First, keep your eye on the station's upcoming webinars and events on social entrepreneurship. And for those who do not know the station, they are one of Iraq's lead co-working spaces and Baghdad's first co-working space, and they provide many programs and services related to entrepreneurship. Also, I would like to invite you all to join Takween Accelerator's virtual demo day on June 10 and meet some of the fastest growing startups in Iraq after completing their 12-week intensive accelerator program. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining our webinar. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.